Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Angiosperm Morphology course. In this video, we are going to start the discussion of adventitious roots. If you remember, we have classified roots into two basic kinds, and that is taproot and adventitious root. Taproot is the one which arises from the radical of the seed. Is the main root or the primary root of the plant, angiosperm plant, whereas adventitious roots are those which arise from any part of the plant other than radical. So they may arise from the stem, may develop or arise from stem or leaves. So these are the two major areas which can develop adventitious roots. So these are not the main roots of the plant, and they are not formed from the seed or from the beginning. These roots are usually formed at a somewhat later stage when the plant has established itself, and then it gives rise to adventitious roots from the stem. Mostly they arise from the stem, but in certain cases they can also arise from the leaves. Now, as far as the classification of the adventitious roots is concerned, we can classify them into three broad categories. Classification of adventitious roots. So just to save time, A are adventitious roots, and this is based on whether they are below the surface of the soil, whether they are somewhat above and below, and whether they are all aerial, that is above the surface of the soil. So we divide them or classify them into three broad categories, and these are subterranean adventitious roots, and subterranean and or underground. So they are found below the surface of the soil. And then we have adventitious roots that are partly subterranean, that is, a part of them is below the surface of the soil and part above. So they are partly above and partly below the surface of the soil. So these are the two categories which are related to soil, and the third one is aerial roots. That is, they mostly do not touch the soil or touch the ground, and they remain almost all the time above the soil. So they usually arise from aerial parts of the plant, like aerial stem. So these are three major groups, and then they are further subdivided into different kinds. So we start with the first category or first group of adventitious roots, and these are subterranean adventitious roots. The subterranean adventitious roots, just like taproot, they are classified into two kinds, and these are fibrous adventitious roots and the others which are fleshy, and they assume various shapes, and on the basis of those shapes they are further classified. So fibrous root, as the name indicates, these are extremely thin and fiber-like. These fibrous adventitious roots, they are defined or explained in another way, described in another way. They are long and slender. Such roots commonly develop on either creeping stems which trail along the surface of the ground, more about creeping and trailing stems in this chapter on stem, and they may also develop on underground stem. So the underground stems, they usually have adventitious roots which are thin and fiber-like or slender. So they are thin roots, fiber-like, and the most common example of these roots, fibrous adventitious roots, they are grasses, and also underground stem which are underground. For example, you can name anyone like ginger, for example. So ginger is a common example of underground stem, and they bear these fibrous adventitious roots. So this was the first of the subterranean adventitious roots, the first kind, which is fibrous, and the next is fleshy subterranean adventitious roots. Now they are further divided into few types, and those are, say we use the Roman numerals, tuberous adventitious roots. Tuberous roots, or alternatively they are also known as root tubers. So these are adventitious roots. First type of the fleshy subterranean or underground adventitious roots, root tubers. Then we have fasciculated roots. Third one is what is known as palmate. So palmate roots. And then we have nodulose roots, maniliform or beaded roots. So this was the fifth kind. And finally, at number 6 we have annulated adventitious roots. So these are all, as we have just seen, kinds of the fleshy adventitious roots, and as we already know, when roots become fleshy, they are usually thick because of, in most cases, storage of food. So these roots are thick roots, and since they assume various shapes due to those thickness, so they may be simple tubers, or they may be in the form of fascicles, that is bundles, and like a palm of a hand, they are bunch of thick roots, so they are palmate. Then we have nodulose, nodule-like, thickened, maniliform, and annulated. So these names are basically given due to the shapes which these roots assume. So we have 6 kinds of fleshy adventitious roots. So let's discuss them one by one with examples and the simple diagrams. So the first one, we have tuberous root or root tubers. Tuberous root. Tuberous root, or they are sometimes known as single root tubers. So these are thick and fleshy. They occur singly, so they are not found in groups. So they occur only one at a time. They occur singly, and they do not have a definite shape. Their shape varies usually. They do not have a definite shape like we have seen in taproot, that we have conical root and fusiform and napiform. So this is not the case in adventitious tuberous roots. So they do not have a definite shape. So their shape may vary. So they are, because as we have just seen, they are all fleshy, tuberous or fasciculated or palmate and all the kinds. So just to differentiate them, so this is the important part in this definition as far as the definition of tuberous or single root tuber goes, that they occur only once, occur singly, and they do not have a definite shape. And one of the best examples of these root tubers, adventitious root tubers, is the sweet potato. And that is Ipomia batatas. Sweet potato. So this is the common example of, so this is the stem, and from this stem, so this is a thick adventitious root arising from the stem. So this is the stem, and this is the tuber or the root tuber. It further bears thin fibrous type of roots on it. So this is the tuberous root of sweet potato or Ipomia batatas, very common root in our area in winter, and it is usually cooked, boiled and eaten. Sweet potato, shakarkandi is its common vernacular name. This is the common vernacular name of this particular root, the root tuber or tuberous adventitious root. So this was the first category. Second kind, fasciculated, fleshy adventitious roots. So as its name indicates, fascicle. So fascicle means bundle. So these roots arise in or develop in groups. So they do not occur singly, and therefore they are distinguished from the tuberous or single root tubers. So they occur in groups, and they are just like root tubers, they are thick and fleshy. So this is the basic difference between the fasciculated and the simple root tubers. They occur singly, whereas fasciculated, they occur in groups. A common example of such roots, or the plants in which these roots are found, they are Dahlia. So Dahlia have tuberous fasciculated or fleshy fasciculated roots. In Dahlia, such roots are found at the base of the stem, at the base of the aerial stem, and they occur in groups. So this is the stem, and now we have, this is the just like before, and now we have these thick roots. And they further bear thin roots. So as you can see, we have 4 to 5 roots developing in a group. So these are formed in a group. So these are fasciculated tuberous roots in Dahlia. They are also found in asparagus. Asparagus is another example of fasciculated tuberous roots. In asparagus, the situation is somewhat different, not like this as in Dahlia, and in asparagus the situation is somewhat like this. So this is the stem, branches of the stem, and then from these branches roots arise, and roots arise somewhat like this. So this is tuberous root, and as you can see, they are forming in a group here and a group there, and in this way you can easily draw them. So they may be a bunch of roots, 4 or 5, and so these are roots. So as you can see, they are developing in groups. So these are fasciculated. I didn't complete the diagram, so you get the concept. This is the soil and these are the fasciculated adventitious roots. So they are found in fascicles, in bundles, as you can see, 3, 3 and 4. They have formed from the underground part of the stem. So in this video we have seen adventitious roots, we have defined adventitious roots, and then their classification into 3 major groups: the subterranean or underground adventitious roots, the partly subterranean, partly above and partly below the surface of the soil, and the aerial adventitious roots. So the first group or the first category, the subterranean, they have been further classified into fibrous adventitious roots and tuberous adventitious roots. So here we are: subterranean adventitious roots, fibrous and fleshy. Fibrous are thin, fiber-like, long and slender, and they mostly arise from the underground stem or the creeping stem. Then we have fleshy roots. Adventitious roots are further classified into 6 kinds: tuberous root or root tubers, fasciculated, palmate, nodulose, moniliform, and annulated. And we have discussed the first 2 kinds in this video, more in the next video. So the first 2 kinds were tuberous or single root tubers, which are thick and fleshy, and they occur singly, only one at a place at a time, and they do not have a definite shape like in sweet potato, Ipomea batatas. Then we have fleshy roots, and we have already seen that why they are fleshy, because they become thick due to the storage of food. So they arise in groups. The fasciculated form fascicles, bundles, and they are found in Dahlia. So these are the roots of the Dahlia in fascicle, and then also in asparagus they are found in bundles, thick roots. So more about fleshy adventitious roots in the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.